Welcome back to another edition of Unconformed. It's actually ONFORM, the podcast. Very first episode. Very excited to be able to be doing this. For everybody who decides to tune in, whether you're tuning in right now or whether you tune in a little bit later on, that is awesome. So I'm really excited to be bringing this podcast to life. It's something that I've been wanting to do for a very long time, and I am very excited, and I look forward to seeing this podcast grow as well as with the main channel. So if you guys have not yet, um, subscribe to the main channel, make sure you guys do that. We also have memberships now. Memberships is a thing now, which is going to be absolutely amazing. You got that first level of the membership, which you guys can get access to. I'll probably link it below once this stream is over. But moving forward, you will have access to this podcast once you become a part of the club. But I will release them to everybody that is subscribed to the channel this coming Thursday. So that's how it's going to work. We're going to do. Hey, Brett, good to see you, man. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for stopping in, man. I do appreciate it. But I'll make sure that all of those memberships are available, but they will be available to everybody if you decide not to become a member of the channel on the coming Thursdays every time. So we're going to be streaming every Tuesday at 12 p.m. Pacific time and then 8 p.m. British time to accommodate everybody. So it'll be a noon stream for us, but it'll be a night stream for a lot of the other people that are subscribed to the channel. But happy to be here on form. We do this segment. Actually, we used to do this a lot back in the day when the channel first started, and actually did really well. And I stopped doing them. Don't know why, but we're gonna bring them back. We're gonna bring them back live, and I know that a lot of you have been asking for live content, so this is just one of a lot of things that'll probably be coming with this channel as it continues to grow the way that it has. So on form, we're going to be talking about almost every team in the league and what they have in relation to us, to Liverpool FC, and why they're important and what's happening in their teams that we should be worried about and we should be thinking about, right? So for the on form category, we're going to be talking about the teams that are on form, the teams that look good right now, and we should probably be maybe paying attention to, and may even just be us, right? So this week, our on form teams are, of course, Liverpool. Okay. So we look fantastic. We do. And I'm seeing a lot of people that hey, perfect. Absolutely. Alejandro, nice to meet you, brother. Thanks for coming in. But we look good. And a lot of people are saying that, okay, it's only 3 games in. And I get that. And I understand that. It is only 3 games in. And then Pep has the audacity, and he knows what the hell he's doing. He says, oh, our preseason is finally over. He says our preseason is finally over, and that's mind games. And we know that that's mind games. We know that that's something that Pep does, and he does really well. The only other person that's really been able to beat Pep in the mind games is Jose Mourinho, because he's like a Satanist. He's like a demon, and no one can beat Jose Mourinho in the mind games. So he was so good that he like broke Pep a little bit. But Pep is like, oh, preseason just started, but I'm taking account of all 3 of these games. Why? This is my argument against this for Liverpool. Every single game counts when you are not only trying to win a league title, but competing with Manchester City, right? As we all know that that's the truth. That if you lose, and I've said this over and over and over and over, right? You cannot lose more than 3 games against Manchester City. You just can't. If you lose more than 3 games, right, just say goodbye. Say goodbye to the league. Say goodbye to the title. And that's what I was trying to tell Arsenal fans last season, because I think they had already lost like 4 games or something like that, or 5 games or something like that. And they were like, "Oh, we still got to run in on the title." No, you don't. You have to damn near be perfect to beat Manchester City. The way that they're set up, the backing that they have from their owners, and of course Pep Guardiola is a great manager, right? You put all those together, it's hard to beat a team like that. But people will look back at some of these games. If we lost, say, imagine we lost the second game, right? And then we drew at Manchester United. People would look back at these games and say, only if, only if we got results in that first week, in week 2 and week 3. All of these results are going to count. And that's why I'm saying, like, when people say, oh, it's early on, it doesn't really matter right now. No, every game matters. It always matters. And Liverpool look good. Arne Slot looks good. And what he's doing with this team, I honestly love it. I love it. The fact that he is, and you love seeing this in a manager. You love seeing this in a manager that can take what's already there and he can improve it and he can make it better and he can repurpose a lot of these players. And I know people are like, it's a big cliche. It's almost like Ryan Gravenberch is a new signing. Yeah, it is, because he was a player that was kind of on the fringes last season. If we even remember that, Ryan was on the fringes of the team last season towards the end, right? He had a couple good games here and there, but he was on the fringes of the team last season. And now it looks he's heading in a direction where he might be undroppable for the team, right? So the fact that Slot has been able to transform Ryan from what he was under Klopp to what he is under Slot and doing similar things with Luis Diaz should be terrifying for the rest of the league. And I'll talk about that in a second on what I think about the other teams and the other fans. I think that they are worried about Liverpool. I think that they were thinking Klopp was the special sauce. I think they were thinking Klopp was the reason why Liverpool was at where they're at right now and why we were so good. But they don't understand. It wasn't Klopp. It was more so what Klopp built, right? It was more so of what Klopp built versus what Klopp did and is, you know what I mean? Or was, I guess, is a better question or a better way to phrase that. And people don't understand that. He built Liverpool, him and Pep and all of the backroom staff, including Michael Edwards, they built Liverpool into a system to where if one person leaves, the club continues to run. We still, hey, here from Zimbabwe. Hey, shout out to Zimbabwe. Shout out to you guys. You guys support almost every video. But they were able to build a system to where a manager can come in and still get results. And I know this is a little bit like off base and it may not make a whole ton of sense, but think Real Madrid, right? Think Real Madrid. Think of what Florentino Perez has been able to do over the years of it doesn't matter who the manager is. Madrid is at least winning something. If it's not a Champions League, if it's not a La Liga, they're winning something. And that's because they've built a system that and a structural organization foundation that is very clear. It has a direction, right? And it doesn't waver on it, no matter who's in charge, whether it's Rafa Benitez, whether it's Jose Mourinho, whether it's Zidane, or whether it's Carlo Ancelotti. That's why they've had continued success over manager, is because of that structure. And I think Michael Edwards has done a really good job of building something similar at Liverpool. And if you haven't watched the Merseyside Monster video that I did, I want to say like maybe 2 months ago, watch that video. It's very good. And it's about, it basically, it's just breaking down the mindset behind Michael Edwards and what he's truly been trying to build here at Liverpool FC. And I think he's continuing to be successful. So Liverpool are on form this week. And we'll talk more about Liverpool a little bit later. Manchester City. Man City look like City. What can you do? I think for me, the lack of interest from the team, the lack of interest from the manager is a good thing. It feels a lot like last season. I think we could maybe get one over on Manchester City again. And especially with us being dark horses in this league, us people pretty much ignoring Liverpool for, far and wide so far this season. I think we'll probably start getting some more attention here soon. But Man City, they seem a little disinterested, right? It's called the Merseyside Monster. Yes, very good one. I'll put it in the comments after we get done with stream, so you guys can watch that one. Very very good one. I dove into a lot of like the background behind Michael Edwards and some of the things that kind of came out after Klopp announced that he was leaving. Of what Edwards is kind of, he's like a psychopath, guys. I'm not even joking. I mean, he was spy on Jurgen Klopp before he hired him. Yeah, from what I understood, he spied on on Arne Slot too. Would reach out to friends and family to really get a good gauge of who the manager is and how he would operate and stuff like that. I mean, the amount of detail that went into both hires, Jurgen Klopp and Arne Slot from Michael Edwards, is actually kind of obsessive and a little bit outrageous, and that's why I trust him, because he takes his job very very seriously, and no decision is that's ever been made is made willy-nilly. I think if he had more backing from the ownership, we'd be looking at a Florentino Perez, but in Merseyside. We'd be looking at a Merseyside Perez, but he does what he can with what he has, and that's why I trust him. I trust the backroom staff. I trusted Klopp. I trusted Pep Linders, and now I trust Slot, just from the short period that we've seen. But Manchester City, they look there for the taking again. And I think they were there for the taking last season. But I think a lot of we just didn't capitalize, did we? Right? Arsenal didn't capitalize. We didn't capitalize. And I look back on some of those games. I look back on the Tottenham game where we were robbed, right? Where those VAR decisions went against us. I look back at the Man City game where Maga got kicked in the chest and there was no call there. Those are the games that we take, and we have to take them. We gotta take them. And then a lot of those points dropped in mid, like when we suffered that loss to Manchester United in the FA Cup, and the slide started. Man, if we could have just got 2, 3 results out of that period, I think it'd be a different conversation. I think we would have had a trophy parade. And City were there to be taken. That's the thing. And Arsenal bottled it, and we just decided to have a bad run of form a little bit too late. And I'm having, yep, that Arsenal game denied that penalty. Yep, that one too. And I'm thinking back to all of these. I'm thinking back to all these moments last season, and I'm like, low key, did we get robbed of the title? Like, did we get robbed of the title? Like, I'm thinking back to some of these calls that we had last season, and it's just like, yeah, we went on that slide after the United game, but we had a lot of like game changing decisions go against us throughout the season that I feel like we don't bring up enough. But hey, that's not here. That's neither here nor there. Man City still look like that same team to me. They look good, obviously. Man City will always be Man City. But I think Pep is already preparing, I guess like the public and the media of like, if we don't go back to back, it's because we're tired of winning. And I'll take that. If you're tired of winning, we'll win it. We'll win it for you, right? Next on form. So we got about four teams that are on form this week. Brighton. Holy shit, man. Brighton, yeah, we were robbed. No penalty after the McAllister tackle. Yep. That one is one that I think about all the time, especially the Tottenham game. Especially the Tottenham game. That one is just like, yeah. And it's so blatant. That one was so blatant, bruh. And we just could have just been in a much better position. And I don't think people give us enough credit for how good our team was last season, mainly because of that skid that we had towards the end of the season. And people are like, "Oh, Liverpool will never end it." We were top of the league like after Christmas. And like I remember reading a statistic that like 80% of the teams that are top of the league after Christmas win it. And we were like one of the few teams that didn't. So it's just like everything was kind of there except for the decisions. The decisions just didn't go our way, which is unfortunate. Unfortunate, man. So hopefully it's not the case anymore. And with the way that Slot plays, I think with the more controlled and measured approach, I think that's only going to benefit us, especially going into the later parts of the season where we can slow the game down, we can mitigate injuries, We can rotate the squad. He's bringing off a lot of the starters off in the 70th minute, 75th minute, so they don't have to risk injury. The game is already put to bed. It's better It's better game management with Slot, and I like it. You know what I mean? I know it's not as exciting, and I doubt. I read somewhere like some reporter was like, I can see a lot of Liverpool fans not being happy with this style of play. Like Liverpool's an attacking style of play. I'm like, we are still on a very attacking side. Don't get us wrong, but we don't take. Thank you, Evan. You're the man. Hey, from Barcelona. You'll never walk alone. Hey, believe it or not, my wife and I were thinking about making a move to Barcelona eventually. So we were looking at jobs over there and looking at jobs in the Netherlands. But we will see. We will see what happens. If I move to Barcelona, we definitely got to link up, Danny. But it's just it's a completely different kind of thing. You know what I mean? When we're talking about Liverpool and how well we performed last season. But the last couple teams that are on form this week, Brighton, their manager, he's good. I like their manager. I mean, I think he was the we swapped heavy metal to let's win everything. Hell yeah, baby. He is one of those managers, a young manager. I believe he's in his 30s, if I'm not mistaken. And I can see after Slot spends a handful of years that maybe we go after him instead of Xabi Alonso. I love the way that he does things. I believe he was at St. Pauli in Germany and completely changed the entire culture at that club and has come to Brighton, and such a smart appointment by Brighton as well. And he has just gotten a really good team. They've put together a solid, good team of young players mixed in with a lot of experience, right? With Milner in there, right? And then of course Lallana was there. I know he's not there anymore, but they've done such a good job, and they are on form for me this week, right? Very similar to our strategy and how we like to buy low and then sell high. You know what I mean? But don't be surprised if they finish fifth, sixth, or higher. Like no joke, they are huge dark horses. And I know that the Arsenal game was kind of like weird and stuff like that, and it had some controversy and things like that. But those are the games you got to win, and especially if you're in title contention like Arsenal is, regardless if you have a decision go your way or not, they're not. We're not going to turn back the clock and give you the win. And if as a Liverpool supporter, we know that more than anything, especially from last season, they're not going to overturn decisions and give you any points. You have to deal with the decisions that happen on the field and win games. Find ways to win games, and you can't pout and cry about it. And that's one thing that I loved about Jurgen Klopp. Yes, he brought up a lot of issues, and yes, he had a voice and things like that, but he never would pout and complain. I mean, I know a lot of people would spin this narrative that he was that style of manager, but it is what it is. And when things were done, things were done. We had to move. We had to move on to the next thing. And Brighton got a major scalp from Arsenal, stealing those points from them. And I think they will go on a run. I really do. I love their team. I love the way that they set up. I love the way that they play. Very, very good team. Very entertaining to watch as well. Bournemouth, another on form team, and I know I believe we play them next. They have quietly built a really nice team. I mean, like, imagine if Gigi, Mamar Dasvili, imagine if he would actually made it to that squad. I think they would be serious European, like, Conference League uh, 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 contenders, I think, with Bournemouth. If Gigi was on that team instead of Kepa, and I was hoping that that deal would have went through. That way we could have kind of seen him up close a little bit better this season. They would. I mean, they got Kirkez back there. They got Araujo, who is a young Mexican kid. He was having a torrid time against Everton, but kind of came through. I mean, they were just driving. They were driving that side of the ball, and he was getting like no respite at all. They were just going to. But he did the best that he could. In those last 10 minutes, they turned it around. They also have Dean Huijsen. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Young Spanish kid that we were briefly linked with, who I thought would be a phenomenal understudy to VVD. And they just got a good, and then I believe they got Evan Nielsen as well. Random, like like how did Bournemouth get Evan Nielsen, who has just like been clinical for Porto for so long, right? What happened there? And then I see Jim. I think Brighton's bubble will burst after 10 games or so. They'll settle into a top to the top end by the end of the season. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, that young manager, he's really good at like rallying the troops and stealing results. I can see a fifth finish for him, especially because I don't think Chelsea will do really well. Dobson, dude, thank you so much for the donation there, dude. You are the man. I appreciate you, buddy. Seriously. Um, and if you haven't, make sure you guys join the club. We have new memberships now. You'll get access to a bunch of different emojis, logos, badges, all that stuff. And then you'll also get access to this podcast on a weekly basis. We have 3 tiers as well, which gives you more and more and more stuff. We're going to be starting a Discord. We'll also be selling merch, which will be really cool. We're going to be doing some hoodies and some sweaters and stuff like that, which like an absolute freak when it comes to when it comes to clothing, and so it's going to be like really really high quality. Just giving you guys out there. Hey, Alani, YNWA, hell yeah, to the end. But Bournemouth look dangerous. The Cherries do look dangerous, and I think that'll be another test for Jurgen Klopp, Arne Slot, baby, for Slot this coming week, and I'll give my prediction on that towards the end of this video as well. But those are my teams that are on form. You guys, let me know. Did I miss anybody? Did I miss any teams that we should be bringing up and that we should be paying attention to? Honorable mentions are Arsenal. I think Arsenal are kind of running their luck a little bit, in my opinion. I think Arsenal are one of those teams that if they don't take the next step in this season, I'm afraid this may be the end of Mikel Arteta. I know they haven't actually lost any games yet, but you know, I don't know. There's something about them that I just don't trust the team. There's some teams that I'm like, yeah, they're dangerous. Like Tottenham, they're dangerous. They have a good manager behind them. Bournemouth, dangerous. Brighton, they're dangerous. Like these are dangerous teams. I'm a big admirer of what they're building over at Aston Villa. Very dangerous teams. I don't get that feeling from Arsenal, and the fact that the way that they set up, it just doesn't give me a whole ton of confidence with 4 center backs and 2 holding midfielders. I don't know. I don't know if those tactics work. And I know that they're doing everything to try to get a Premier League back, and they're kind of ignoring the Champions League. I feel like they ignore the Champions League a little bit, even though like they say, we're trying to win the Champions League. I don't know if Arteta's the guy. Newcastle is another honorable mention on the on form category. They haven't lost yet, if I'm not mistaken, but I just feel like it's so weird the way that they set up their club, mainly because they are Saudi owned as well, right? But they're still in like financial trouble. And I'm like, how does Man City get away with it, but Newcastle is forced to sell people? And if they are spending a bunch of money, where is this money going? What's happening with all the money? Where's the money at? You know what I mean? So I don't think they have a squad that's like, whoa, they're a Saudi owned club. Like they bought everybody. The squad still doesn't all the way impress me. Bruno is a bit overrated for me. I think Sandro Tonali is a baller, in my personal opinion. Jim, yep, Newcastle are interesting. Injuries screwed them last season. That's true. And they lost Tonali, which is true. And they had to deal with Champions League, which they haven't been in the Champions League for so long. And Eddie Howe's first time in the Champions League. So it's a very big, I guess, relief now that they're not going to be in that big European competition this summer. But they have to know they got to be deep. If you're in Europe, you got to be deep, or you have to manage the fitness of your players very, very well, which I appreciate about Arne Slot, of taking players off early, changing the style of play, bringing the intensity down, right, and bringing over his entire physio staff. I mean, by now I feel like we would have already had an injury to Kanate at this point. Like somebody would have been injured. Thiago would have been out already. You know what I mean? I know Curtis is out. but I'm hearing that's not going to be like a long-term thing. It's already looking good. You know what I mean? It's already looking good. But for the teams that are out of form, we're looking at Everton. Everton, we're looking at you. We're looking at you, pal. Um, damn, that's tough. And they looked good, which is the messed up part about Everton. Everton looked good for the majority of that game and actually played some really attractive football. They actually played some really attractive football for periods of time in that game. I mean, playing in doing rondos, you know what I mean? Like they were playing in triangles and squares and stuff like that, absolutely dogging Bournemouth. And then that goal went in, and the mentality just broke down. And I just don't know what happened. I don't know how you concede those many goals in just 10 minutes. Complete capitulation. And it's not great to see as a Liverpool fan because I love the rivalry. I love keeping it in the Premier League, but it's not looking good. And I'm wondering, where do they go from here, right? 3 games, 3 losses. We don't know if they continue to recover. We don't know if they can beat the drop again, right? I think they were thinking like, okay, we move up from here, right? We get back in the mid table, we build. That's not happening, and I think that's all off the appointment. Can you believe Carlo Ancelotti used to coach Everton, bro? Letting him go, I think, was a mistake for Everton. I think you keep you with managers, especially in these days and age, you try to keep them as long as you can, especially if they're good managers, the proven track record. You give them time, and it doesn't look good for Everton right now. And I'm wondering, is Branthwaite available? Is he available in January? If they go down, is it then okay for to come and poach some of these players from Everton? You guys let me know. I mean, I've been supporting for I want to say like maybe 13 years now. 13, 14 years now. And obviously I've never seen an Everton Liverpool transfer. Doesn't mean that it can't happen. But do you think if Everton is in a tough enough spot, will they sell to us? Because I like Branthwaite. I think he can be a generational talent given if given the right amount of time. I think he is a type of player that you spend big money on. Very very good. I think he'll get that British tax, of course, and it'll probably be an overpay, but maybe not if they're going down. So we'll see. And I'm heard reports about him being interested in the move, as well as Anthony Gordon, but that's for another time. Southampton, another out of form team. They play eye catching football. I remember we played them. I believe it was either in the FA Cup or the League Cup, and they gave us a little bit of scare last season. And I liked the way that they played, and I liked how they play that one touch, two touch football. It's not converting. It's not panning out in the Premier League, and I don't know why it's not working. It's tough. I think Lalana is back at Southampton, which is a phenomenal story for him. And hopefully they can turn it around. But I'm predicting them going down. Them, Everton, and believe it or not, Crystal Palace. I know Crystal Palace got a result, but I think their luck runs out. They're one of those teams that's like they have all the talent, but just like wrong management, right? Poor management of the team. I mean, you have Adam Warden on that team. You had Eberechi Eze. You had Michael Elise. Like that's a serious. Oh, Eduardo, Decore, like Mark Yehi. Like you have a beast of a team with some really good young talent. Why are we not getting results? And I think it's just the style of play that needs to shift to more dynamism. And I'd love to see some of those players come to us. I like Mark Gahey. He's not great in the air, which I think maybe has thrown off the pursuit of him a little bit. But I also like Eze, who I think should have probably had to move away already by now. West Ham. West Ham is another out of form team for me. Man, another one of those. So much talent, should be doing much more, but wrong management. Uh, David Moyes. I mean, he's one of those. He's one of those overachiever managers, right? Where he will get you a trophy if you give him enough time. But is that all you really want to do? Especially with that talent. You got Paqueta on that team. You got Suchek on that team. You got Edson Alvarez on that team. You got Muhammad Kudus. You got Jared Bowen. I mean, that team is like low key like cracked. Like that should be a phenomenal team. I mean, at one point you had Declan Rice in that team. That team should be competing top four just based off of those names that I'm just giving you right there. And bringing in Fulkrig, I think that's his name, instead of like a bona fide goal getting striker to complement Kudus, to complement Lucas Paqueta, to complement Jared Bowen, I think was a really bad idea. And why Mikel Antonio is still their main striker, I do not understand and I do not get. Yep, and we've wanted Bowen for a while now, and he's another one of those players that's like, man, I get like this is a high potential team, and you want to stick around, but he probably should have made a move sooner than later. I believe he's like 27 now, or going to be 28 this season, something like that, right? And I just feel like he should have been made a move away, in my personal opinion. So, hey, Nigel, my favorite channel right now. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. I really do. I really, really do. It means a whole ton that I get to sit on here and talk football with other Liverpool supporters from all around the world. And that's like kind of the point of this whole stream is I want this to be collaborative. I want you guys to be able to have a voice on here and be able to express some of your guys' thoughts and ideas and stuff like that, and not be glossed over and not be looked over, right? And eventually we're gonna get to a point where we're gonna be doing call-ins. Hey, somebody gave me that idea. I'll have to look back in which subscriber gave me that idea, but I think that's such a great idea of having you guys being able to call in, actually having to get to chit chat live and almost like co-host this thing with me. um and it should be pretty awesome. So as much as this channel is mine, I want it to be your guys's as well, okay? But I get a feeling that there's a growing sense of worry amongst other fans with Liverpool. I get a growing feeling like I'm on Twitter and stuff like that. I'm on Instagram, and I'm like, I think the other teams and the other fans are low key worried about Liverpool FC right now, and they don't want to admit it. And they keep moving the goalpost for Arne Slot, right? Well, it was just 3 games. Oh, wait until he plays Man United, right? Reality check. We'll see if he can get his first game in. We'll see. The Premier League isn't the Dutch league, and he keeps passing each test. And the way that he impressed Roy Keane when he just broke down Ten Hag's entire tactical thought process in like 2 minutes and was like, "Oh yeah, this is how you beat him." Yeah, they pressed too high with the wingers, so what we did is we positioned Luis Diaz and Mo Salah in those spots, in those open spots, and yeah, that created a bunch of 1v1s for our team, and we were able to exploit it. Last season they weren't doing that; they were playing a like what? This dude is he's mad. I don't think you guys understand, to be able to have that much tactical understanding, to be able to break down another coach's. I know it's Ten Hag, okay? I know it's Ten Hag, but to be able to break down another coach's tactics that easily, and then to be able to deploy and implement and execute the counter for it, you have to be absolutely obsessed with football, absolutely obsessed with tactics, constantly breaking down teams, constantly doing research, constantly doing analytics. And my friend from, okay, Dobson, he's given us some context. My friend from Holland, who follows the Eredivisie religiously for like 20 years, assured me that Slot is the man for the job. The only worry is the difference in man management style. That is true. That is very true. Because I know these boys, they're very used to Klopp's almost fatherly type of management style, right? A lot of hugs, a lot of G'ing up, and he doesn't really do that. And he's been super clear that that's not how he kind of does things. He's more of those cerebral type of guy, a massive thinker, and he doesn't really tap into the emotion of the game the way that Klopp did, which I think maybe could be his dad. He reminds me a lot of actually Rafa Benitez. And somebody brought this comparison up the other day, and I was like, you know what? That does make a whole ton of sense. He reminds me a lot of Rafa, who Rafa was very a matter of fact with things and very analytical and very cerebral and just broke and things were just as it was, right? And I hope he's able to kind of get that man management style down. From what I understand, he was able to do that with Feyenoord and able to kind of G up his players and stuff like that and be a father figure a little bit. But I think it's going to take some time with this team, mainly because Klopp has built something so special over the past 9 years, and these players they don't forget that, especially players like Trent, right? Who is you're not my dad. You can kind of see that he's like you're not my dad, and so I hope he's able to kind of adjust to that, and that's I would agree, Dobson. That's the one thing that I do definitely. I worry a little bit about Arne Slot, but so far so good. But let's talk about the next segment, and then we'll kind of close out on this. And I want to keep this kind of the same for every live stream that we do. Talk about the league, talk about how they affect us, talk Liverpool. Now we're gonna go into off press, right? Off the press. So Zuby deal. I can't wait for co-hosting either, man. It's gonna be fun. Once we get a few of these under the belt, we'll tie in the call-ins and whoever I feel like has like the best thoughts behind things on throughout the week. You guys will be able to call in to a number and then we can chit chat, man. It'll be pretty sick. But off the press. So these are all of the reports that I'm seeing on Twitter or online and stuff like that. I'm seeing that the Zuby deal could be back on. I don't know how I feel about that. You guys let me know. How do you guys feel about that? How do you guys feel about the Zubamendi deal? Should we do it? Should we not do it? I'm gonna put a little poll in here. Actually, no. You guys can tell me just in the comments. Should we go after Zubamendi again? I don't know. Because here's the thing with the Zubamendi deal. I see Chiesa, and I see how excited he is, and I see how grateful he is to be at Liverpool, and we haven't seen that in a long, long time, right? We haven't seen a player be this grateful, to be this excited, and to be this fired up to be a part of Liverpool FC, and be so out there and obvious about it, which I love that for him for a long time. And the fact that we've been able to get kind of two polar opposites of this thing, where we had Zuby, right, who we pretty much had to roll out the red carpet for this dude, and he had needed so much convincing. And we had Chiesa, who all we had to do was make a call and ask, "Do you want to join Liverpool FC?" And the answer was immediately yes. And if you guys know the video that I did about him before, and like the replacements, that's like one of the keys that you need. Do they want to play for Liverpool? Are they okay with living in Liverpool? And do they fit the system? And I don't know if Zuby is that guy, but apparently, from what I've understood and what I've kind of gathered over the reports, is that he actually called Mark Hughes himself and asked and told him the situation, and he left it warm was the wording. They left it warm. So I don't know. And I like Ryan there too. I think Ryan's ceiling is higher than Zubamendi's if he can really reel it in. And he's younger. But do we need backup there? I like Morton, believe it or not. And I think Morton is one of those players that's going to surprise you guys. When he gets a shot, I think Morton's going to surprise everybody. And obviously there's a level that Slot wants people to be at. And the fact that Stefan went and Clark went, two guys that I rate very highly, and Morton stayed, should tell you something. And Trey stayed and didn't get a loan, should tell you something. That I think he trusts those two. But I think Liverpool will be opportunistic. I think they will be opportunistic. And if a Zuby deal does come in that's less than the deal than they initially did, I think they'll go after him. And I agree. I think Zuby will be one of those guys that refuse to learn English. And I think that played into him turning it down. But apparently it's still warm. and that he hasn't completely closed the door on it. And of course, after his team has like been on an absolute slide since he's made that decision. But anyway, next thing that I'm hearing in the news, the Mo Salah deal. We're hearing about Mo. Mo is Mo is like laying down the gauntlet pretty much for management. Is like, hey, put a deal on the table. He is one of those players that I feel like you give him a deal. It doesn't matter how long or how old he is, you do a deal. He's like one of those franchise players. He's a Tom Brady. He's a LeBron James. He is one of those players that you just do a deal with him, give him the money that he wants, and you let him retire at your club. You let him retire in your team. You let him decide. The numbers that he's done, what he's been able to achieve with Liverpool, I think he has earned that to where we can break the deal structure. We did it before, and we can kind of go against what Michael Edwards wants to do with the team. And we buy young and sell old and stuff like that. Give Mo a damn deal. And I hope it gets done. I hope we don't see him leave for free. And I hope he can retire a Red. I really do. And I think he wants to. He looks very happy these days. He's playing the best football that he's played in a long, long time. And it looks good. And the same with the other two, right? Same with the other two. I like the chances of Trent. Trent has been given hints too, like, oh, I'm gonna be back next season. I remember I saw that he said that to the camera, like, we'll be back next time. We'll be back next year too. I'll be back at Old Trafford next year too. So I think it's a good sign. VVD has indicated he doesn't want to go anywhere. I think they like playing under Slot. I think they like the change in tactics. I think they like the change in style of play, and I think they want to stay. And in all honesty, where do you go after Liverpool? I mean, there's Madrid, but okay. Barca isn't Barca anymore. Juve isn't Juve anymore. Bayern Munich isn't Bayern Munich anymore. You don't go to Arsenal. You don't go to City, and you don't go to you don't go to Chelsea. So where do you go if you're those players? I guess to the MLS. I guess to enter Miami. But no, I think they stay. I think they all sign extensions. The only one that I'd be worried about is maybe Trent going to Madrid because they do need a right back. But I think he's been very clear that he wants to captain Liverpool and he'd like to be a one club player. But he's putting pressure on the back room and the management, which I love. I want him to do that. I want him to demand what he should get as a player. I think he deserves a raise. I think Trent is by far probably one of our best, if not top 2, top 3 players on our team. Very important in the way that we play. And he deserves that raise. And Salah deserves an extension. And VVD, can we talk about VVD for a little bit? VVD's been outrageous this season. Like prime VVD. He deserves another extension as well. I love this team. I love this team. I love these players. And Edwards, if you're hearing this, Hughes, if you're hearing this, get these damn deals done. Get them signed. So, my predictions for the next round, and we'll wrap up on this. We're going to keep them 45 minutes or so. Unless you guys let me know. We'll keep them 45 minutes for now, but if you guys want longer ones, I'm more than happy to do them. I'm not going to do them every day like Anfield Agenda and stuff like that. I just, for me, it just isn't great from my mental health. We'll keep them one time a week, but you guys will continue to get videos from me pretty often, obviously, regular videos. But my predictions for the next round. Liverpool versus Nottingham. I think we get a result. Nottingham, I believe they are undefeated, but it's been against opposition that hasn't been that great, and they've just like only been pulling out like 1-0 wins or draws and stuff like that. I think we get a result at Nottingham next week, and we should honestly coast past those guys. And I think Slot stays undefeated. If you can even believe that. And they only start rating us until we're undefeated still in December, I guess. But I think Nunez should play there. I think Harvey should get minutes there as well. But let me know. What are your guys' predictions down in the comments? What are your guys' predictions, score lines for the game against Nottingham? I know it's a little bit away. We got the international break and stuff like that. But drop your predictions down in the comments. I'll leave it running a little bit. And if you guys have any questions that you want answered, or you want my thoughts on anything, or you want to share a thought, throw them down here. We'll stay on for another couple minutes or so. and then we'll wrap up the stream. But you guys will be able to have access to this podcast that you guys are listening to right now on Thursday. I will be posting it and uploading it onto all streaming platforms on Thursday. So if you guys have a car ride, you guys want to go back over and listen to some of the stuff that we talked about today, you can. You'll have it for the week, and then we'll be back again on Tuesday um to give you guys some more really cool stuff, good stuff from the stream. So again, those memberships are going to be really cool. The second tier will actually give you guys admin access or moderator access. So if you guys decide you guys want to become part of the boot room and not just be a part of the club, which is that next tier up, you guys will get moderator access. So once this thing starts growing crazy and stuff like that, which I believe we will, you guys are amazing. I'll need people to kind of monitor the chat, make sure people aren't saying crazy stuff and things like that. So I want to incorporate you guys more and more into the channel as we go, so that it can be our channel and not just mine. So I appreciate all of you guys. We will wrap up stream here now. You guys have an amazing day. You guys can still have access to this video. So if you guys want to put your predictions and your thoughts down below, you still can do that. I'll still respond back to you guys and stuff like that. You know me. But thank you guys for tuning in to the ONFORM podcast. You guys have a good one. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.